some Rotarians out there. It's a fun Friday night, plenty of dancing. That could be you right there, actually. Hello, how you going? Giving me the wave. It's good stuff, eh? It's good stuff. I should say something like good afternoon, but as the stereotypical young person, I should say what's up. Okay. Every time I share this story, you know, I've shared it many times before, and every time I share it, I have mixed emotions. Because I think back to the time, as Tracy mentioned, shortly after I finished my teaching degree, started my teaching degree at La Trobe University in 2011, and my intentions were simply to consecutively get through 4 years of study and begin teaching. And within 3 weeks of my time there, I was allocated to a school here in Bendigo to gain some teaching experience. And that's where I met a young girl who was under the age of 10. And before I talk about that, I just want to give a little bit of background into my childhood, because it helps paint a picture of exactly what this experience was like. You know, I grew up in East Bendigo here, so I'm a Bendigo lad, and I guess you could say that I grew up in a middle-class neighbourhood. You know, Mum and Dad, they worked hard to provide for my sister and I. And so we were very used to a new bike or the new something or other, you know, for Christmas and Easter and that kind of thing, because that's a normal thing that you expect as a child. And I was kind of in what I call this bubble of naivety, because there were other kids in my class at school, at Bendigo East Primary School, just down the road, who they'd have holes in their shoes, you know, or they'd have the dirty clothes, or the malnourishment, or whatever it may be. And I noticed that, but I could never identify what the problem actually was, you know, just being a young kid, and I could never identify that. And you know, it was somewhat ironic. Many years later, as an adult, being confronted with that situation and realising, wow, like those kids that were in my class were in this same situation. So this problem of homelessness has always existed in Bendigo, it's just that I had never seen it. Just a little short story. On my 6th birthday, I was blessed enough to be given a Nintendo 64 from my dad. Before that, he'd handed me a packet of Maltesers and said, "Happy birthday, that's all we could afford this year." And I'm like, yeah. Oh, no, we got your Nintendo 64, that's great, you know. So felt very blessed. In fact, I've got a little video here. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But this sums up me.
Yes, Mama Junior, I want everything to be perfect for my Dudley's special day.
Hurry up! Where's my coffee boy?
I'm not Harry.
Oh, that wonderful Dudley. How many are there?
36. Counted them myself.
36! Well, last year I had 37!
Yeah, well, some of them are quite a bit bigger than last year.
I don't care how big they are! No, this is what we're going to do. Is that when we go out, we're going to buy you 2 new presents. How's that, Pumpkin?
Could be fair enough to say that my sister was Harry and I was Dudley, you know. Look, the point that I'm making here though is that I wasn't quite as bad as Dudley, but the point I'm making is that that was normal for me, you know, to experience all of these things that I've mentioned. And when I met Catherine all these years later as an adult, as I said, I realised, you know, that she was just like those underprivileged children that I'd been in class with. And so this one day, after I'd finished school at this particular school in Bendigo, she told me of her 3 homes that she had, and she was quite, you know, she told me gleefully that, you know, where she lived. And she said, "Well, Mum and I, we sleep in the Bendigo Showgrounds, or sleep at the Bendigo Showgrounds in a tent. But if we're not there, we have our car, and that's always nice and cosy. And if we don't sleep there, we'll be at the caravan park in Kangaroo Flat." So, you know, that bubble of naivety, you know, was burst in that moment, because I've grown up here in Bendigo, population of 100,000+ people, and never did I realise that nearly 1% of that population was living in a homeless situation. Now, the 3 different types of homelessness are mentioned here, and you know, if you look in the dictionary and you find the word homeless, you'll usually find something like this definition of a person without a home and therefore typically living on the streets, or that can be defined as primary homelessness. But here in Bendigo, what I came to understand is that a majority of these underprivileged young mothers, children, and just people of all ages, all backgrounds, are living secondary homelessness or tertiary. So it's not that they might be on a park bench or squatting up against a building, but a majority are couch surfing, you know, going from one friend to another's, in the tents, in the cars, and tertiary. Actually have a place over their head, a roof over their head, have a place to call a house, but not necessarily a home, because after a short period of time, say 3 months or 6 months, they're moved out of that home. And so Catherine and her mum, for example, were in a secondary homelessness situation. So I drove home at the end of at my time during this school. I drove home and I just feel the pain now. You know, I was shattered because that bubble had been burst, and even more so, I just felt so much compassion for not only Catherine and her mum, but the other hundreds and hundreds of people in this situation. And that feeling, that dreaded feeling, as I'm sure many of you Rotarians and community workers here, you know, have felt before, like that feeling of, here I am, one person, you know, sea of billions of people. What could I possibly do to, you know, to make an impact, make a difference? You know, if I did try, would it be just like a little pebble in the ocean? And I guess it's fair to say I just had that belief somewhere inside me that I really could make a difference. And I was talking to Gary Wilson in the green room earlier, and he was asking me, you know, where this concept of Bendigo for Homeless Youth started, and it really just started. I said to him, it started like this. It was my friend Chris Morley and I, who's been a long-term mentor of mine. We were sitting around the bonfire one night at his house in Eagle Hawk, and I was sharing my experiences with him. And he's also a musician like I am. He actually taught me how to play. And by the end of our conversation, we came up with this concept. You know, we were so moved by the fact that this is an issue that we both had experience with over the last few weeks. He'd also had his experiences as a teacher. And, you know, we decided, let's put our minds together, our hearts together, and actually do something to combat this issue in our community that we're faced with right now. And so that was where this concept began, just around that bonfire. And it was just a name, it was just a concept, it was just a crazy idea of raising $100,000 in the space of the remaining 9 months of 2012. So it was an idea there that we were going to put our skills and talents together through music, hold fundraisers, do whatever we could, maybe produce a CD and DVD, and just share our hearts for this issue. And so we were blessed, you know. We really were. We just started to become vocal that we were doing this, social media, that kind of thing. The Bendigo Advertiser were just invaluable. They were fantastic in their support to get our idea out there, and within a couple of weeks we had this beautiful bunch of people who wanted to join us. And the best thing about the 3 points I list here is that that's exactly sums up the team of people that we attracted, like-minded individuals, different range of skills, and the correct motives. And I included that quote from Art Sheldon there because that really sums up the motives of the team. Art Sheldon, Chicago Rotarian, he profits most who serves best. And we had an amazing group of people, musicians, graphic designers, some with degrees in business and so on and so forth, some Bendigo Bank executives, which I'll get onto now. Becoming a charity was the next step, and being 19 at the time, I was naive to, you know, sort of how the, you know, we've all been there, I guess. You know, what can you say? There are a lot of things I didn't know. didn't have any understanding of fundraising, you know, very little understanding of politics, very little understanding of non-profit organisations and how they're structured and, you know, all that kind of stuff. And I remember I was on the phone with the Australian Tax Office about how to become a charity and how to actually get this thing started, and was, inundated with books and all this kind of, stuff that I couldn't really apply. And the late, great Phil Lazenby called me one day, former CEO of Bendigo Community Telco. If you knew Phil, he was a great man. Called me and said, I saw your photo on the photo and story in the Bendigo Advertiser. We have to get this thing started, don't we? He said, I'm going to set up a meeting with the Bendigo Bank next week. I'm not sure if Phil was a Rotarian or not. Something tells me that he was, but I'm not sure. And a week later, Chris and I were at the Bendigo Bank head office here in Bendigo, and we were sharing our heart for this issue and what we wanted to do. And we shared that we wanted to write a song, produce that song, and sell it to the community. And we needed a small amount of funding to do that. And the Bendigo Bank graciously accommodated that need. And so here was our goal, and I've included the SMART principle just for other presentations that I've done, particularly at high schools and for leadership programs. So we had this goal to raise $100,000 to build a homeless shelter, and that was the vision, that was the big dream of what we wanted to do. You know, it's all well and good to fundraise money for any cause, but when you really see it go into something that's permanent, long-term, that's physical, that you can see, that you can touch, it makes it all the more exciting. 9 months, I'm not sure if you'd call that measurable by SMART standards. Achievable, well, we weren't sure. Realistic is $100,000 from a first of its kind campaign. On a somewhat controversial topic. Realistic, that was the other thing. Even I really did misunderstand the concept of homelessness prior to fundraising for it and what actually causes it and why it exists. And, well, yes, time-bound. I mean, we can, get into that. These are just a few of the different kinds of fundraising activities we have. If I zoom out there, here's me at a community concert at the Golden Vine Hotel. Wristbands, bit of information, as you can see. What else did we have? Now, this was our gala dinner at the Bendigo Town Hall in October 2012, and that's actually Catherine who was brave enough to stand on stage in front of, well, not quite this many people, but to stand in front of, a couple of hundred people and share her story. And it was just amazing. I was standing there, I was choking back the tears. I was just amazed at her courage to share that. It was a really amazing night. For those of you who were there, I'm not sure if anyone was actually there. We did some random acts of kindness. That was just another way of raising awareness and stuff. Just me handing out a t-shirt to a young girl named Piper. And there's a copy of our CD DVD, which was called Home. So I had 3 tracks on there, and the first track was a collaboration of about 20 Bendigo artists, the Bendigo Youth Choir, different artists and musicians who contributed to writing that and singing on it as well. And so that was the main catalyst for our fundraising, was selling that CD. Before I get there, so we, halfway through 2012, I was privileged to meet the staff from Haven Home Safe. And prior to meeting the staff at Haven Home Safe, we had been looking for a beneficiary whose values were aligned with ours. As I said before, it's great when you fundraise, but it's even better when you can put that total amount of fundraising into something that's going to be permanent. And when I met with Haven CEO Ken Marchingo, we had a conversation about what is Haven able to do with these funds, that no other organisation can do. And that was a really key point in this journey. By this time, I deferred uni because this had really got priority. And whenever I was supposed to be journaling, teaching observations, for my assignments, I was researching this because this is just how it really grasped me by the heart, took control of my life. And after meeting with Ken, he shared with me a vision for a long-term housing project to be based right here in Bendigo, where tenants could come in, they could learn basic life skills whilst having accommodation. They could learn basic life skills that we all need, and that we all here take for granted. But there are many of those out there who don't know how to use a knife and fork. Can you believe it? Many who don't know how to change a light bulb, catch public transport, do the shopping, budget effectively. And so this one particular day, Ken and I travelled down to Melbourne, to Exhibition Street. We were asked to go down there. And all I knew is that I was meeting with a Mr. Meyer. I had no idea where I was going or what was going on, very naive. And, well, you would have thought by the time I got to Exhibition Street I'd have some clue, but no, this is just all interesting and fun and, yeah, So we go up to this very high floor in Melbourne, and we're greeted by this lovely gentleman, Mr. Meyer. And then it hits me, that Bales, as we call him, is the son of Sidney Meyer himself, who founded Meyer. And a little bit of history that I've learnt. In 1899, Sidney Meyer himself migrated from Russia to Australia, and more specifically here in Bendigo. And he was essentially penniless. Didn't have any money, and so sold undergarments door to door before finally planting the first Meyer store here in Bendigo. And so, so Bales was enthusiastically sharing this history of how Sidney Meyer, his father, had started things here, how he was a keen violinist, and how he just loved this project and wanted to help Bendigo. And I mentioned that we had our goal of raising $100,000, and Sidney Meyer graciously matched those funds 4-1. And this is why I called the talk "From Little Things, Big Things Grow," because from Chris and I around the bonfire, sharing our heart about an issue that we really wanted to make a difference in. And a mere 6 months later, we're in Melbourne, and we're meeting with someone who really wants to help and see our vision through. And so Sidney Meyer Foundation donated $4 for every dollar that we raised that year, resulting in $500,000 in our contribution toward this housing project. And I certainly don't take credit for all the fundraising that happened. But I'm pleased to have played a part in that. I just want to show you how things actually snowballed. Another foundation, the Yulgil Bar Foundation, shortly after contributed an amount of $2 million to this same project. And then Wendy Lovell came to Bendigo, the State Minister of Early Childhood and Housing, and made an announcement the Victorian government were going to triple that amount, which results in a $6 million housing project based here in Bendigo, Victoria. First of its kind housing project, as well as I'm aware. And Haven have successfully implemented that in the suburb of Spring Gully here. And it's just fantastic. And I've been there multiple times now. I actually have friends who are living in the accommodation, and that makes it so much worth it, just being there and seeing the change that this has made to their lives, and that it's always going to be there. And so, there's a little picture of the block of land before, it's the old Paintings Nursery site in Bendigo, just before the houses were implemented. And I look back on this now, I reflect on this now, and I'm still amazed. That's the only word I can use to describe it. I'm absolutely amazed at every single person who just saw this vision and wanted to be a part of it and help. And if it wasn't church groups or Rotary or every individual who played a part in this, we wouldn't have achieved what we did. And even now, this topic, it's so much more understood, and people in this community are so aware that this is actually an issue. And you know, I'm really reminded that we were created to achieve amazing things, and it's certainly been exemplified in this project. And I had the opportunity for a brief period of time to be part of a Rotary Club. It was the youngest one of its kind, as well as I'm aware, the Rotary Club of Next Generation, which was founded in 2013, and I really enjoyed that opportunity. But for me now, I need to finish my teaching degree, so I have gone back to La Trobe University, because you have deferred that many times. I think the coordinator said to me when I re-enrolled at the start of this year that I think you've set the record for the longest degree, you know, ever here at La Trobe University, Bendigo. It's a 4-year course, and it'll be about 8 years it's taken me to finish it. But you know, that's my main goal now, is just to finish that degree, because when you're a volunteer, you know, you want to give it all, you want to give everything that you have, but at the same time, if your resources are diminished, how can you possibly, you know, help those around you? I mean, you really do need to get yourself right, firing on all cylinders before you do that. And I sense that there are a lot of like-minded individuals in here think the same way and want to help and want to do that. And you know, thank you so much for that, because without you, you know, where would we be as a community or as a world? So I just want to thank you so much for your captivating presence. Hopefully I've been as captivating as well, and thank you so much. And you know, I'm sure we'll have many future projects, you know, once I finish that degree, that we'll be undertaking, and I look forward to meeting you and working with you on a personal level.